1580.
Now that it gets some soul.
Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA, Talk 1580, download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson. Wealthy Wednesdays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Got a lot to talk about today. Let me first start by congratulating Commissioner Donna Miller for her victory in the 2nd Congressional District of Illinois. It was not my day last night, but I'm so glad that the leadership chosen by the people of the 2nd Congressional District of Illinois are supporting Commissioner Donna Miller to be the standard bearer for the Democratic Party in the 2nd Congressional District. It was an amazing campaign, an opportunity to hear ideas from my neighbors, and that's ultimately what all of the candidates and who all of the candidates are in the 2nd Congressional District. At the end of the day, one of us was going to be the Democratic nominee. Unfortunately, in my case, it was not me, but I'm grateful that the people have made a decision, and that is democracy. I can live with that. And so I'm grateful for having had the opportunity to exchange ideas over the last 9 or 10 months or so to make those candidates better. I learned a lot from them. They made me better. And that's the democratic process. Grateful to have had the opportunity to serve and to share with them what I know about the South Side of Chicago, the South suburbs, and beyond. Today, my mother and my family was awarded posthumously a resolution in support of the extraordinary work of the Reverend Jesse Jackson. My mom has been an amazing partner and caregiver, along with my siblings and a team of caregivers over a decade for my dad, even as evidenced in the past month and yesterday. She's a wealth of wisdom. You heard it right here on the show, and a force my father relied upon at every phase of his journey. I'm so proud and how brave my mom has been in tandem with the bravery, courage, fight, and perseverance my dad had to his very last breath. So honored to see members of the city council honoring my mother in this magnificent way. I want to share a little bit of history before I bring our very special regular contributor, P.L. De Silva, and Dr. Sipes forward to discuss the war in Iran and its consequences for all of the American people and the world. When my father came to the city of Chicago in the early 60s, the Chicago City Council had 6 African-American aldermen. They were known as the Silent Six. It was a term referencing Black aldermen on the Chicago City Council during the early 1960s, often contrasted with independent white alderman Leon Dupree. They were known for largely not challenging Mayor Richard J. Daley's administration, sometimes referred to as part of the city council's, quote, yes men, quote, during the era of strict political machine control. That is the city of Chicago that my father walked into in the early 60s. And the context is, while Leon Dupree, 5th Ward alderman, served as an independent reformer, often acting as the sole voice against the machine, the Democratic machine. We're not discussing the Republican Party in Cook County or in Chicago, because there was no Republican Party in Cook County and in Chicago in any measure that was measurable. A small group of Black aldermen were perceived as complying with the white power structure. This group was contrasted with the need for independent, progressive, and racial justice-focused leadership, as highlighted in Poverty and Race Research Action Council analysis. Later eras, and that would be the Jesse Jackson era, later eras of Chicago politics saw a more assertive aldermanic Black caucus evolving from this earlier, more quiet period. In fact, when Mayor Richard J. Daley died, the opportunity for an African American, Wilson Frost, to be mayor of the city of Chicago for 8 days. Rather than have an African American mayor succeed Richard J. Daley, the city of Chicago went without a mayor for 8 days, even though the council rules were crystal clear that Wilson Frost should have been appointed the interim or temporary mayor until such time as the council replaced Richard J. Daley. But Chicago in that era was not having it. And so when I looked out on the Chicago City Council today and saw a majority African-American city council persons, Hispanic city council persons, representatives of the LGBTQ community, 5 or 6 openly LGBTQ representatives in the city council. When I looked in the council and saw more women, when I looked into the council and saw, yes, white men and firefighters who stood up as city council persons who were white males and said, I asked the question when I first got to the city council, how did I get this job? And other white firefighters in the union said, you got your job because of Jesse Jackson. And so in that moment, while my mother was receiving this tremendous honor from the city of Chicago and Mayor Brandon Johnson, who presided over the city council today as its president in this very special and warming session, I saw democracy at work. In fact, I saw a city council in the city of Chicago that was far more desegregated than the Congress of the United States. It was actually amazing. It hadn't been brought up, but I remember in the early years of my life here in the city of Chicago, just how difficult it was to have our voices on the floor of the council. Now, don't get me wrong. This is a tough city council for the mayor of the city of Chicago, who happens to be African American, and that's fine. That is the contentious nature of the needs of every single ward in the city of Chicago. But I couldn't help but think in that moment about my father's contribution to diversity, to equity and inclusion, and the decades that he challenged the city council, challenged the city of Chicago, drew lines and helped fight for lines to give all of these voices an opportunity to participate in the democracy. That's exactly what I saw today. Particularly honored that if my father were here, he would have been able to look over the city council. Remember when he first got here, when there were a silent 6 where you better not say nothing unless you ask permission from Boss Daley, to the city council now that gives the present mayor a whole lot of hell. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. When we come forward, Dr. P.L. Da Silva and Dr. Kim Sipes will be our very special guests. We're turning our attention to the Middle East and the great difficulties in front of our nation and the world in light of what's taking place. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
All the women who independent, throw your hands up at me.
This March, we're turning up the volume on the women who changed everything. KBLA Talk 1580 is proud to celebrate Women's History Month, honoring the trailblazers, truth tellers, and game changers who shaped our world, our culture, and our community. From the freedom fighters to the firsts, from the boardroom to the front lines, from the unsung to the unforgettable, all month long, we're celebrating the stories, the voices, and the conversations that remind us that women, Black women, have always led the way. Don't miss a moment. This is our moment. This is our story. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580, Los Angeles' home for the conversations that matter.
I'm your girl, you're my girl, we're your girls. Won't you know that we love you?
Did you know about 1 in 3 people with plaque psoriasis may also develop psoriatic arthritis, which causes joint pain, stiffness, and swelling? Does this sound like you? Listen to what it sounds like to be a million miles away. Tremfya guselkumab, taken by injection, is a prescription medicine for adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who may benefit from taking injections or pills or phototherapy, and for adults with active psoriatic arthritis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Imagine being a million miles away. Explore what's possible. Ask your doctor about Tremfya. Visit Tremfya.com or call 1-800-526-7736.
Are you drowning in IRS tax debt? Angela was. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $80,000. Felicia was having health problems, got behind on her taxes, interest and penalties were adding up. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $15,000. Civic Tax Relief is a professional tax negotiation firm that can protect you from the IRS. If you're getting collection letters, call Civic Tax Relief for a free consultation. They will go to work helping you discover all the relief programs you may qualify for free. James owed the IRS $37,000. Civic Tax Relief represented him against the IRS, and by the time everything was completed, he did not owe the IRS anything. If you are in trouble with the IRS, call Civic Tax Relief for your free consultation now. 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257. Get a free consultation and real tax relief. Call 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drop the beat. Come on and talk with me.
I'm Jesse Jackson.
Listen to me. Come on and talk with me.
On KBLA Talk 1580.
BLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
Dr. P.L. Da Silva has over 20 years' experience in backroom diplomacy, mediation, and negotiation. He has taught politics, international relations in several graduate, undergraduate programs at universities in New York, New Jersey, Long Island, and Queen's University of Belfast in Northern Ireland. Dr. Da Silva's publications include Postmodern Insurgencies, Political Violence, Identity Formation, and Peacemaking in Comparative Perspectives. Also joining us in this hour, Dr. Kim Shipes, sociology professor in the College of Humanities, Education, and Social Sciences, takes joy in having visited 6 of the world's 7 continents. Got to do whatever we can to get him to at least the other continent. That's got to be on his bucket list. He has seen a range of socioeconomic backgrounds and living conditions across the globe while studying labor practices and movements from the streets of The Hague to villages in the Philippines. Dr. Da Silva and Professor Sipes, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Very happy to join you, Jesse.
Dr. Sipes, in what continent did you miss?
Antarctica.
I can't blame you. I can't blame you.
I'm not in a hurry to pick that one up, Jesse.
Dr. Da Silva, the calamity in Iran.
Yes. I mean, it's about hubris, right? Trump's hubris, and that equals the loss of blood and treasure. And he's going to throw young American lives into the maelstrom, into the meat grinder, just to show that he's some powerful guy sitting in the White House. But actually, he's an old dude. He's going to be 80 years soon. And he's on the checkout count. You know, he's in the checkout. He's going to check out. He's not going to go anywhere but away from this planet. And he pretends and he thinks that he's going to stay with us forever. No chance, buddy. Everybody's human. The one thing that Hindus always say is, you are going to die. You don't know when, you don't know how, but you're not going to live forever. And there's no chance. You know, he may be the richest man in the cemetery. But, you know, he's going to kill young Americans because he's a bombastic man who thinks he's bigger and better than everybody else. And when military advisors are being kowtowed and not listened to, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, the 4-star Air Force general, told him in no uncertain terms that the US would run out of munitions and that our allies are not going to support us. And he just stomped all over him. And we can see the result. Nobody is going to come to our assistance. And there's no way that any US naval vessel is going to escort any tankers. It takes about 17 knots and about almost 2 hours, 49 minutes to traverse the whole of the Strait of Hormuz. It's like slow, 15 miles an hour, chug, 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 chug. During that time, you can hit these tankers and US naval vessels, etc., with just normal artillery. You don't need smart weapons
Right.
to hit these guys and sink them.
Mm.
That's why nobody wants to join him on it. I mean, we would probably in history call it the Grand Iranian Turkey Shoot, because that's what's going to happen to our Navy and our tankers. That's what's going to happen. It's a geographic choke point. But these guys in the White House don't know geography. Pete Hegseth, I mean, the Brits call him Whiskey Pete, right? They don't understand any of these things. And there's a second choke point where the Yemenis are waiting, the Houthis are waiting, and that's the Bab el Mandeb. There's no way any of this thing is going to move. And if he's going to send those poor Marines in, and my brother Kim was in the US Marines, he's going to get people slaughtered. The Brits are saying so. There is no plan. It's all lies, hubris, which is going to be equal to loss of blood and treasure. Why do we have this guy as the president of the United States of America? He's totally incapable, incompetent, and he's surrounded himself with incapable and incompetent clowns.
Professor Sipes, what are the consequences of the actions that the president has undertaken?
Well, a lot of death and destruction, first of all. I mean, the point I think that's got to be made again and again is Iran was no threat to the United States. It was not. And their missiles can't reach us. Where they were a threat, quote unquote, was into Israel. But Israel has been conducting genocide against the Palestinians. And Netanyahu wanted to bring the U.S. in on that. And the U.S. acquiesced to their genocide. And then now the U.S. is brought into this war against Iran. And this is going on and on. And one of the things that's consistent is that there has been almost nothing but lies, mainly from the U.S. government, but it's also been propagated terribly in the U.S. media. Let me give you an example of that. If you listen to, I check out, I don't, thank goodness I don't do this for a living. This would drive me crazy. But I check out several media sources a day, plus podcasts and stuff like that. And if you look at the mainstream media, you get references again and again to the 1979 Iranian Revolution. They date everything. Supposedly that's when the wheels fell off the train, and everything's been to hell for that. But what they're not telling us, and I haven't heard it on a single mainstream media, is that in 1953, the CIA of the United States and then MI6 of Britain overthrew the democratically elected government of Mohammad Mossadegh of Iran. In other words, all this stuff with Iran is a product of American operations. It's a product of the CIA. This is not speculation. This is known. Al McCoy's got a chapter in that in his latest book, which I recommend to all your listeners, called Cold War on Five Continents by Alfred W. McCoy. It's just out this year. Stunning work. And we know this stuff. And what's not happening is not being reported to the American people by the press. And the government sure doesn't want us to know. But again and again, it's based on lies. They were not a threat to us, and they're going to cause tremendous disruption. Now, for example, and I know everybody out there has to know the gas has jumped almost $1 a gallon in just the last week. We're seeing it here in the Midwest. I know you're seeing it on the West Coast and the East Coast. Gas is going up. And that's only one thing. What they also are not telling you, at 35% of urea, which is a chemical that's used in fertilizer, goes through the Strait of Hormuz. Now, this is getting to be planting season. We're coming up on planting season here in the Midwest. We grow corn here in Indiana, okay? And what we're going to see is there's not going to be enough fertilizer for producing food here in the United States and around the world because the Iranians got it bottled up. This is going to be a disaster for this. And we're going to see, and also one of the other big lies is we've been told our economy's okay. Well, what I'm hearing is something like 60% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. That is not okay. Things are changing. They're for the worse. And nobody's being straight with the American people. That's all I got to say right there. Nobody's being straight. And they're all lying about this. And Trump is caught in this mix. He got into a war that he had no business getting in there, and he can't get out. You know, what's he going to do? There's some talk, there's some stupid talk about people talking about boots on the ground. Well, if those Marines and soldiers go into Iran, there's going to be a big slaughtering, because we have to remember something about Iran. In 5,500 years or so that they've been together, they have never been conquered by outsiders, period. One of only two countries that can say that. And you've got 90 million people, and we couldn't even deal with 24 million in Iraq in the 90s and early 2000s, where we had our military was much stronger. So if people want to hear somebody that knows what he's talking about, I highly recommend them listening to Lawrence Wilkerson. He's a retired U.S. Army colonel, served over 40 years, and then later served as chief of staff for Colin Powell in the Department of State. He's one of the few military men who's being straight with the United States, because most of these experts that get brought on, like on MS Now, they might know their military stuff, although I'm not terribly impressed with the U.S. record in Asia over the post-war period. They might know their military stuff, but none of them speak in larger political terms, and that's larger political terms is much more important to understand.
You know, I want to just make this point and offer it as a question to both of you. I've always supported Israeli security and Palestinian justice, hence a two-state solution for the self-determination and justice for the Palestinian people. That's always been, at least while I was in service, the middle ground, that the United States would maintain relationships with both sides of this conflict. I've also always seen Israel as a kind of proxy for the United States in the region because of the massive amount of military aid and equipment that we provided for Israel since the inception of their nation. But I'm wondering in this moment, what Trump has done is he's bypassed the idea of the proxy, and he has decided to engage Iran directly on behalf of both Israel and the, if you will, the American people, whether we want to acknowledge it or not. He is speaking for the American people through these Tomahawk missiles. It seems to me that, to your point, we are no longer, PL, in a position to ask our allies to join our efforts to provide security in the Strait of Hormuz, because we have really tipped our hand on the question of whether or not the United States is on one side or the other against the Iranian regime. PL, am I wrong in that?
No, you're not. And we can see what the allies are saying. Finland told Trump when he asked for minesweepers. The Finns told him, our minesweepers are designed for the Baltic Sea, which is basically a polite way of saying no. The Brits are saying no. The French are saying no. Nobody's going to come. And the truly gutsy European leader is the Spanish prime minister. He told Trump where he could get off. And, he's pro-Palestinian, anti-Israeli genocide of the Palestinians. And he basically said, you can't use our bases. And what did Trump say? Oh, we can use it if we want to. All this bombastic nonsense, he hasn't a diplomatic bone in his body, and he's managed to alienate all the allies, and nobody is going to come. Uncle Sam is going to paddle his little boat all by himself and you can see who the supporters are, who are basically the Israelis, who have been sponging off the United States ever since it has been, ever since 1948, when Israel was created. And the fact is that, and the other thing that we need to take into account is that the director of U.S. counterterrorism, okay, he was a staunch MAGA person who was a Green Beret, 11 tours, and he stepped down. And in his resignation, he said, "We, the United States, have no business fighting in Iran." And as Professor Saib said, that Iran was no threat to the United States. And he has actually asked President Trump to reverse course.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, two of the world's foremost authorities on what's taking place in that part of the world. Dr. P.L. De Silva and Dr. Kim Shipes are our very special guests in this hour. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Cook County, Illinois Board President Toni Preckwinkle, who was Black, secured a birthday win, taking the Democratic primary in her re-election bid.
We've got a lot of work to do, and we're gonna continue to provide care to whoever comes to our door.
She's now likely headed for a fifth term and will face Libertarian Michael Murphy in November, which she says will be her last if elected. Pomona College students in California are raising concerns after alleged racist incidents on campus. The school says cases include a faculty member using a racial slur and athletes reportedly using the N-word without discipline. The Black Student Union says it has not received adequate support. And Kiki Shepard, longtime co-host of Showtime at the Apollo, has died at 74. Her rep tells TMZ she suffered a heart attack in Los Angeles on Monday. Shepard was a staple at the iconic Harlem Theater from 1987 to 2002. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Now is the time to save on an award-winning Nissan at the Nissan Now sales event, featuring the Rogue, Pathfinder, Frontier, and more. Don't wait. These offers are going fast. Shop your Southern California Nissan dealers and NissanUSA.com today.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Congratulations to HBCU Howard University. The men's basketball team won the first NCAA tournament game in school history. Howard defeated Maryland-Baltimore County 86-83 Tuesday night in the play-in round in Dayton, Ohio. Howard, champions of the MEAC Conference, was 0-4 in the NCAA tournament before Tuesday night. Bryce Harris, a senior guard from Brentwood, New York, led Howard with 19 points and 14 rebounds. Howard advances to a first-round matchup Thursday in Buffalo against Michigan, the number one seed in the Midwest Regional. 4 p.m. tip-off local time, live coverage on CBS. Prairie View A&M, champions of the SWAC Conference, has their play-in game today against Lehigh. 3:30 p.m. tip-off for this one, live coverage on True TV. The Lakers are at Houston tonight. The Lakers are going for their 7th straight win. The Clippers are at New Orleans tonight. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Where you eating at?
Hi, I'm Greg Doolin, inviting you to a special celebration of Women's History Month. Join KBLA Talk 1580 for its annual symposium, The State of Black Women in LA. Broadcast live from Doolin's Soul Food on Crenshaw, Friday, March 27th, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., moderated by Dominique DePrima. And yes, breakfast is just $15.80. Come get fed twice. Your stomach and your mind will thank you. We'll see you Friday morning, March 27th, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. at Doolin's Soul Food on Crenshaw for the State of Black Women in LA. Broadcast live only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Pump up the volume.
Business moves fast. Orders roll in, deadlines close in. When you ship with USPS Ground Advantage, you can keep up with confidence. Every package stays in our secure network from dock to door. And with nationwide reach, dependable tracking, and upfront affordable pricing, you get built-in peace of mind. You run the business. We run the routes. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to learn more.
Breathe easier with the South Coast Air Quality Management District mobile app. Get real-time air quality updates, forecasts, and alerts when air quality is poor right on your phone. It's free and easy to use. Just search South Coast AQMD and download today. What's your air quality?
Real talent is defined by what people can do, not where they learn to do it. So by stopping at the education section of a resume, you might throw away the perfect hire. You might miss someone who has valuable skills to offer to help your business thrive right now and in the future. Because the truth is this: Skills First Hiring helps you see talent others miss, like more than 70 million stars, skilled through alternative routes. When you let their story unfold, you gain a competitive advantage, because hiring managers who start with skills are 60% more likely to find a successful hire. See the real person, complete. See what others miss. Hire skills first. Learn why it's a competitive advantage at tearthepaperceiling.org. Brought to you by Opportunity at Work and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Dominique DePrima, KBLA Talk 1580 host and African Focus Incorporated cultural ambassador. You probably know by now that every year our two organizations team up to lead a trip to the motherland. This June will be our 8th African Focus Trailblazers Tour, and it's not too late to join us. But if you've been thinking of going with us, now is the time to sign on before prices go up. Our current deadline is March 20th. Join us as we travel to a country widely considered one of Africa's most underrated destinations, Zambia, home to the towering Victoria Falls and the bustling capital city, Lusaka. Enjoy a visit to Botswana, known for its pristine natural beauty and stunning Southern African wildlife. We travel in comfort with luxury accommodations, a variety of fun activities, and delicious dining. We do service with charitable work at a school and an orphanage, and we expand our horizons with cultural and historical excursions. To sign up now before our March 20th deadline, please call African Focus Incorporated at 310-676-7300. That's 310-676-7300. Or check out africanfocus.org. Whether it's in the community or traveling the globe, we move as family. African Focus and KBLA Talk 1580. Let's go.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Wally drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580.
It's Wealthy Wednesdays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, and this is Worldwide with PL Da Silva. PL is an experienced director with a demonstrated history of working in think tanks, industry, and academia, the United Nations Political and Military Affairs, CTCVE, stabilization operations, and the private sector, financial services, oil and gas, skilled in research, political risk analysis, geostrategy, cultural diplomacy, humanitarian action, and global affairs involving war-affected, deeply divided societies. PL, welcome forward to your show, Worldwide with PL De Silva.
Thank you, Jesse.
And Dr. Kim Sipes, who has been an activist and researcher studying global labor solidarity since 1983, including previously unpublished writings spanning from 1985 to 2020 in his new book, published in 2021, Building Global Labor Solidarity, Lessons from the Philippines, South Africa, Northwestern Europe, and the United States. Dr. Sipes, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you, Jesse. Glad to be here as always.
PL, just before the break, you were talking about the president being the richest man in the cemetery, and whatever the point of that is, to die with all of the wealth in the world, like you can take it with you. But this idea of boots on the ground in Iran suggests that Arlington National Cemetery needs to be planning an even larger site, if you will, our hallowed ground of our bravest men and women who've served in our country and lost their lives in times of war, and even veterans who may not have lost their lives in times of war. They do have access to Arlington National Cemetery. At what point in time, PL, in your thinking, do the American people recognize that we're not only losing treasury in the form of this question of affordability, which is impacting the midterm elections, the price of oil, the price of gas, petroleum affects nearly every product manufactured in the United States, not just fertilizer, but plastics, styrofoam, kitchen appliances, you name it. There is some petroleum-based product that is going to skyrocket if the Strait of Hormuz is closed. What does the war and what does it take beyond the loss of life with boots on the ground to change the American people's minds to the idea that we should be studying war no more, and the United States needs to get out of Iran right now? Professor De Silva.
From a strategic point of view, we don't have the troops to actually fight the Iranians. The Iranians have what, a million plus man army, and in order to fight that the American military would need 2 million, 3 million soldiers to take something like that on. And we have 472,000 soldiers and a couple of 100,000 Marines. 100,000 Marines, 100,000 tops. So we've got 500,000 maybe, and that simply wouldn't cut it. And in order to train soldiers, we would need to bring in conscription, which would be the straw that breaks the camel's back. And also you need to train up. You need a year, 2 years, 3 years to train soldiers. Basically cannon fodder will go and get slaughtered. And then the munitions, also it'll take about 2 years, 3 years. We make something like 78, 79 THAAD missiles a year, about 100 and something Tomahawk missiles a year. And then on everything else, gallium, which is used to make these missiles, I think the Chinese have a 90% monopoly on gallium. Chinese aren't going to give us gallium to make missiles. So what are we going to do? So none of these things are thought out. And it's, shoot from the hip, talk big from the White House or Mar-a-Lago, and you think you can change reality by just talking. Talk is cheap. On Wall Street, they say, talk is cheap, bullshit walks.
I agree. Hey, Dr. Sipes, let me ask you this question. America, in just a month or two, or maybe 3 months from now or so, will be commemorating its 250th anniversary, a relatively new nation against the backdrop of the 5,500 years of the Iranian civilization. What gives America the idea that it can go into a country 5,500 years old and reshape its culture, its politics, and its social mores?
Well, sheer arrogance is the first word that pops into mind. Part of the thing, Jesse, is that we have a ruling elite in this country who has lied continuously about our role in the world. And so what you see again, I mean, out of the 250 years, I forget the exact number, but we've been at war someplace, somewhere in the world, something like 228 of those years. It's a phenomenal. We've been a very warlike country. And that comes, I believe, from the fact that the Europeans came in and they stole the land from the indigenous people with great brutality. As we know, they brought millions of Africans to the United States to work, so that we had it. So through this, I mean, one of the things that people don't understand is that slavery was so incredibly productive and profitable that they provided industry and provided jobs for people, and people came from around the world, you know, and that was on the backs of slavery. So we industrialized quicker than almost anybody other than, say, Britain, who was before us. But we industrialized quickly. We brought in people from around the world. We socialized them. We propagandized them into thinking that now, because they were Americans, they were better than anybody else in the world. And this nationalist arrogance has led us to think, well, we know best. We're told everybody in the world wants to be an American, and that's a lie right there. We've got a lot of things to be proud of in this country, but we've got a lot of violence and death and destruction that we've not ever been able to deal with in the society. And this is not discussed in college classrooms. It's not discussed in general population. The media lies to us on all kinds of things. So you get a leader, especially one that is one of the things about Trump, and I think this is true of all these authoritarians, is they're just certain that, God's on their side and they know better than anybody else, and therefore they're certain about success. Well, what we're going to see is reality's crashing in on Donald. He's wrong. He had no reason to go to war. The Iranians were not a threat to the United States. Most Americans do not support this war, which is phenomenal, because usually they can gin up this nationalistic nonsense and get everybody hot to trot and support the war. That's not happening because Trump didn't have the heart to talk to the American people and even tell them about this. But we shouldn't be surprised. This man, is full of chicken doo-doo. I mean, this is a guy that uses yeah.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. More with Dr. Sipes and PL Da Silva when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Heading out of town this spring? Metro makes getting to LAX easier than ever. Just take the C or K train lines to the new LAX Metro Transit Center. Then catch a free shuttle straight to your terminal. Easy, affordable, stress-free. Travel smart. Go Metro.
Oh my God! Injured in an accident? Insurance not paying what you deserve? The Law Office of Hamlin will get you paid. Call 424-266-9175. That's 424-266-9175. The Law Office of Hamlin, your legal vibe for the culture.
Old-fashioned soul. Where you eating at? Hi, I'm Greg Doolin, inviting you to a special celebration of Women's History Month. Join KBLA Talk 1580 for its annual symposium, The State of Black Women in LA. Broadcast live from Doolin's Soul Food on Crenshaw, Friday, March 27th, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., moderated by Dominique DePrima. And yes, breakfast is just $15.80. Come get fed twice. Your stomach and your mind will thank you. We'll see you Friday morning, March 27th, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. at Doolin's Soul Food on Crenshaw for the State of Black Women in LA. Broadcast live only on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. 10 Toes In serves as a mentorship and domestic violence prevention program. They support, educate, and empower couples during and after incarceration. They assist male returning citizens to re-enter society successfully and to help them maintain a healthy relationship with their romantic partner. They offer a mentorship support group for formerly incarcerated men. 10 Toes In teaches its Intimate Relationships 101 curriculum at male prisons throughout the state of California. They host sister support group meetings for women who are intimately involved with incarcerated and formerly incarcerated men. 10 Toes In is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. To access their services or make a donation, please visit them online at 10toesin.org or find them on Facebook or Instagram. They are healing lives through relationships. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
My son loves to fly kites, but my active psoriatic arthritis can sometimes hold me back. Now with Skyrizi to treat my skin and joints, I'm ready to go. Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults, helps with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue. For those who also have plaque psoriasis, 90% clearer skin is possible with just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, there's nothing like clearer skin and better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi today and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZZI to learn more.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly Quality drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It is Wealthy Wednesdays with Dr. P.L. De Silva, and we are worldwide with Dr. P.L. De Silva and Dr. Kim Shipes. Gentlemen, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you, Jesse.
P.L., we only have about 9 minutes before the top of the hour, and of course I leave 3 minutes for the word of hope, which either one of you could offer at the top of the show. But I do want to ask this question because I think that midterms do matter in this conversation. And in my campaign, for example, I ran a campaign from the moment I entered the race to the very last day on the economic issues with the limited resources that I was able to raise in the campaign. And I think I communicated that message as effectively as I possibly could. But then, right around the first of the year, this war did come to the 2nd Congressional District. And I suspect that this war is going to be coming to congressional districts all across this country. And it shows up in the form of dark money that outspends candidates on questions of affordability, in that the candidates talk about affordability, they talk about healthcare, they have commercials, they have troops, they have all of this space, but hidden behind that infrastructure, even though the candidates are touting that, is this war and people who are concerned about this war. This money shows up from outer space. And it is after a vote to continue this conflict. Going forward, Pio da Silva, how do candidates in the midterms address this war and deal with it for what it actually is?
You know, none of the candidates and none of the representatives and senators on Capitol Hill will be able to hide from this. The moment Trump commits boots on the ground, you know, whether it's the 82nd Airborne or whether it is the Marines on the USS Tripoli, and body bags start coming home. I mean, already hundreds of troops have been injured. They have been in Kuwaiti hospitals. They've been moved to Germany for triage, and they're at the Walter Reed Hospital. When body bags start coming, a steady flow of body bags, which is what all the military experts are saying, including Colonel Wilkerson and others, it is going to be, you know, they won't be able to lie to the people anymore. None of these people who have the dark money from the Miriam Adelsons and others who want to support Bibi Netanyahu, who want to support the Israelis in this madness of trying to redraw the Middle East and create a greater Israel, which is just totally a pipe dream. You know, Voltaire said it best. Voltaire said, if we believe in absurdities, we shall commit atrocities. And that's what's happening. Okay? Mm. And they won't have anywhere to hide because the people are going to be affected. Families are going to be affected with loved ones who are killed and injured and disabled. And then all of us are going to be affected because food prices will go up. There'll be food shortages, transportation costs go up, fuel prices go up, and none of all the nonsense that Trump keeps spewing is going to hold water. And at that time, the people are going to hold the representatives accountable during the midterm elections.
Dr. Sipes, I met at least 9 candidates who I believe are genuinely public servants. They're interested in affordability. They're interested in healthcare. They're interested in the SNAP program. They're interested, to the extent that I brought it to their attention, that we need to be connected to the global economy. But Dr. Sipes, then this war shows up. This war shows up with a lot of money in the last 2 months of a campaign, last 3 months of a campaign. And even though the issues are still the economic issues, front and center is still what's taking place in the Middle East. Dr. Sipes, how do the candidates handle it?
Well, I think part of the thing is we've got to look at Israel in more accurate terms. For example, one of the things that you're not seeing in the media is pictures of Iranian attacks on Israel. And the reason for that is not that they're not happening, but Israel is censoring the news. So the New York Times, for example, which runs a headline every time an Israeli leader goes to the bathroom successfully, has almost blacked out everything on as far as attacks on Israel. Israel's getting hit, and it's getting hit hard. And part of the thing is we've got to have a talk about Israel and what they're doing and the differences between Judaism on one hand and Zionism on another. And that's a crucial discussion that we're not having. We have to have that discussion. We have to understand, because we don't want to propagate anti-Semitism, which is against Jews, but we do want to challenge and examine Zionism and its funders, because through AIPAC and places like this, that's where a lot of that money's coming from.
We have about 3 minutes before we come forward. How about a minute and a half for each of you? How do we get out of this conflict, Dr. Sipes?
Well, I think, first of all, people have to mobilize. And one of the things that's happening is March 28th is the No Kings March, which I think is a good start. And I commend MoveOn.org for starting that, Invisible and things like that. However, the key thing that's not being done is we're not building organization. We have to have long-term organization in each and every community. And we need to get together. We need to learn about each other. We need to talk about things, and we need to figure out how we can maximize our power. It's not just going to be enough to march in the streets. We have to have organization behind that, which is one of the things youngsters today don't understand about the 60s. In the 60s, we had organizations such as Southern Christian Leadership Conference. We had the Panthers. We had, different women's groups. We had anti-war groups. We had organization. We've got to rebuild that again, because that's where our power comes from, is organization.
PL, I have about a minute and 30 seconds left in the program. PL, how do we stop the war and how do we get back to peace? PL?
So you just look at the USS Gerald Ford. There are rumors swirling that the sailors set fire to their bedding because they didn't want to go to war. And now the USS Gerald Ford is in port. It's not at war. So in the Vietnam War, there were many soldiers who sabotaged the US military from within because they didn't want to go and fight the war. So as much as there are citizens who need to stand up, I think soldiers and military men and women need to stand up from the lowest ranks to the highest ranks and stand up to this absolute madness.
PL, this is you're referring the aircraft carrier that now has toilet problems.
No, that's right. That's the one
with toilet problems and now has to go to port because of plumbing. Because
no, the bedding was set on fire.
The bedding.
Yeah, there was a fire that burned for 30 hours, Jesse. It was terrible.
Okay, well, I'm sorry I missed that in the news. I do know that there is a ship that is going to port because someone has stuffed all the toilets with toilet paper. And
it's the same ship. It's just different things are going on. They've been deployed for like 10 months already, and it just, your crews can't take it. Your pilots can't take it.
I want to thank PL Da Silva on Worldwide and Dr. Sipes for their participation and contribution to our show. More on KBLA Talk 1580 with Dr. Todd Yeary when we come forward. We're going to continue this conversation when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Cook County, Illinois Board President Toni Preckwinkle, who was Black, secured a birthday win, taking the Democratic primary in her re-election bid.
We've got a lot of work to do, and we're gonna continue to provide care to whoever comes to our door.
She's now likely headed for a fifth term and will face Libertarian Michael Murphy in November, which she says will be her last if elected. Pomona College students in California are raising concerns after alleged racist incidents on campus. The school says cases include a faculty member using a racial slur and athletes reportedly using the N-word without discipline. The Black Student Union says it has not received adequate support. And Kiki Shepard, longtime co-host of Showtime at the Apollo, has died at 74. Her rep tells TMZ she suffered a heart attack in Los Angeles on Monday. Shepard was a staple at the iconic Harlem Theater from 1987 to 2002. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Now is the time to save on an award-winning Nissan at the Nissan Now sales event, featuring the Rogue, Pathfinder, Frontier, and more. Don't wait. These offers are going fast. Shop your Southern California Nissan dealers and NissanUSA.com today.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Congratulations to HBCU Howard University. The men's basketball team won the first NCAA tournament game in school history. Howard defeated Maryland-Baltimore County 86-83 Tuesday night in the play-in round in Dayton, Ohio. Howard, champions of the MEAC Conference, was 0-4 in the NCAA tournament before Tuesday night. Bryce Harris, a senior guard from Brentwood, New York, led Howard with 19 points and 14 rebounds. Howard advances to a first-round matchup Thursday in Buffalo against Michigan, the number 1 seed in the Midwest Regional. 4 p.m. tip-off local time, live coverage on CBS. Prairie View A&M, champions of the SWAC Conference, has their play-in game today against Lehigh. 3:30 p.m. tip-off for this one, live coverage on True TV. The Lakers are at Houston tonight. The Lakers are going for their 7th straight win. The Clippers are at New Orleans tonight. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Old-fashioned soul. Where you eating at? Hi, I'm Greg Doolin, inviting you to a special celebration of Women's History Month. Join KBLA Talk 1580 for its annual symposium, The State of Black Women in LA. Broadcast live from Doolin's Soul Food on Crenshaw. Friday, March 27th, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., moderated by Dominique DePrima. And yes, breakfast is just $15.80. Come get fed twice. Your stomach and your mind will thank you. We'll see you Friday morning, March 27th, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. at Doolin Soul Food on Crenshaw for the State of Black Women in LA. Broadcast live only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
Jesse Jackson Jr., welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It's Wealthy Days. The first hour, we have PL Da Silva, a regular contributor on Worldwide with PL Da Silva, and Kim Sipes were our guests on the first hour. In the second hour, we are expecting Dr. S. Todd Yeary to join us in just a moment. He's the principal of the Yeary Firm, a Maryland-based litigation and government relations firm, and also serves as senior pastor of the Douglas Memorial Community Church of Baltimore and affiliates. Dr. Yeary is the former chief executive officer of the Rainbow Push Coalition, the international human and civil rights organization founded by my father, the Reverend Jesse L. Jackson. I want to turn our attention to the basis for our conversation about studying war no more. Martin Luther King Jr. on April 4th, 1967. Please Google this. At New York's Riverside Church, Martin Luther King Jr.'s Beyond Vietnam, A Time to Break the Silence speech was a landmark address condemning the Vietnam War. King argued the war devastated both Vietnam and America's poor, draining resources from domestic programs while disproportionately sending Black soldiers to fight. This moral indictment condemned the United States as a major purveyor of violence, urged a revolution of values, which we talk about on Thought-Provoking Thursdays and the World House with Dr. Johnny Mack, a revolution of values, and marked a significant shift in his focus toward broader issues including militarism, racism, and economic injustice. Why is that speech that Dr. King delivered on April 4th, 1967 so important? Because it is a framework for understanding international global conflicts of war and contrasting it against the spending programs necessary for domestic tranquility and harmony. For example, the Affordable Care Act needs to be expanded to include dental, hearing, vision. We need to expand the mental health component of the Affordable Care Act. We need to include, and I just found this out a couple of days ago, research on menopause and its impact on the workplace. A women's group pulled me aside and pulled my coattail on that just a couple of days ago. Had never had to give it any thought myself, obviously, so I was grateful that they brought it to my attention. But the resources that we need to expand the Affordable Care Act, to expand the Supplemental Nutrition and Assistance Program, are now being spent in Iran to the tune of $1 billion a day. $1 billion a day. And that's why our eyeglasses are so expensive. And that's why so few of us are covered with hearing aids, and why so few of us have mental health coverage, limited coverage under the Affordable Care Act, and why maternal care isn't receiving the kind of attention that it needs. Because somewhere, Dr. Yeary, in the Bible, it says where your treasury is. I think I'm going to let Dr. Yeary finish that for me, or I'm going to allow our producer to finish that for me. What did they say, Gina?
So will be your heart.
So will be your heart. Wherever your treasury is, your heart will follow. It does not say where your heart is, how good you feel, the treasury will follow. It says the truth of your heart is where the money is. And so the money is not in these programs. Dr. King argued effectively in Beyond Vietnam. He argued that the money is being spent to blow up people in Iran, in Venezuela, to give benefits to the people of Argentina. And now the president of the United States is turning his attention to Cuba. Dr. Yeary's social justice work includes having served on the national board of the National Action Network from 2015 to 2021, past political action chair for the Maryland State Conference of the NAACP. Dr. Yeary, welcome forward to your show on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Sir, you've already laid out the case for a significant discussion about the insanity of the current conflict going on in the Middle East.
Dr. Yeary, is there a way out of the current insanity that's taking place in the Middle East?
Well, there is, but every day that the war continues, the more difficult that is. When you dig yourself into a hole or back yourself into an untenable position on false pretenses, it makes it harder for you to exit absent maybe a bit of contrition, which we don't expect would ever come from this administration. So unless there is a plan for what the administration is considering victory, which is hard to describe in this sense, the citizenry will continue to deal with the residuals, if you will, of just unwise, arbitrary starting of conflict for the sake of having conflict without considering what the consequences are to the masses.
You know, Dr. Yeary, I know we have just about a minute before we come forward, but I want to go through some of the products that come from petroleum. And I'm just going to look at the desk right here in front of me. The stand that is holding my notes for the program is made of plastic that comes from petroleum products. The cell phone in my hand, the casing that the iPhone is placed in is a rubber casing. It's made from petroleum products. The frame around my laptop computer, the keys on my laptop computer come from petroleum products. The insulation on the wiring that plugs everything into the wall comes from petroleum-related products. And so it's hard to imagine a world where the Strait of Hormuz is actually closed that doesn't affect the cost of living at every phase of American existence. And Dr. Shipes was really clear, as well as P.L. Da Silva, that it even impacts fertilizer. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. We're talking with Dr. S. Todd Yeary, the politics of our faith with Reverend Dr. S. Todd Yeary. 1 foot in the pulpit, 1 foot in the courtroom, but both feet in reality. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
This March, we're turning up the volume on the women who changed everything. KBLA Talk 1580 is proud to celebrate Women's History Month, honoring the trailblazers, truth tellers, and game changers who shaped our world, our culture, and our community. From the freedom fighters to the firsts, from the boardroom to the front lines, from the unsung to the unforgettable. All month long, we're celebrating the stories, the voices, and the conversations that remind us that women, Black women, have always led the way. Don't miss a moment. This is our moment. This is our story. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580, Los Angeles' home for the conversations that matter.
I'm your girl, you're my girl, we're your girls. Won't you know that we love you?
Did you know about 1 in 3 people with plaque psoriasis may also develop psoriatic arthritis, which causes joint pain, stiffness, and swelling? Does this sound like you? Listen to what it sounds like to be a million miles away. Tremfya guselkumab, taken by injection, is a prescription medicine for adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who may benefit from taking injections or pills or phototherapy, and for adults with active psoriatic arthritis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Imagine being a million miles away. Explore what's possible. Ask your doctor about Tremfya. Visit Tremfya.com or call 1-800-526-7736.
Are you drowning in IRS tax debt? Angela was. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $80,000. Felicia was having health problems, got behind on her taxes, interest and penalties were adding up. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $15,000. Civic Tax Relief is a professional tax negotiation firm that can protect you from the IRS. If you're getting collection letters, call Civic Tax Relief for a free consultation. They will go to work helping you discover all the relief programs you may qualify for free. James owed the IRS $37,000. Civic Tax Relief represented him against the IRS, and by the time everything was completed, he did not owe the IRS anything. If you are in trouble with the IRS, call Civic Tax Relief for your free consultation now. 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257. Get a free consultation and real tax relief. Call 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome back to the Politics of Our Faith with Dr. S. Todd Eury. Dr. Eury, welcome forward to the show. Dr. Eury is with us. You know, I was saying, Dr. Eury, just before, and I think your phone is muted, just before the break, that it is impossible to talk about issues of affordability and in the same sentence not mention the Strait of Hormuz in the Gulf. It's impossible. It is impossible to talk about affordability and not recognize that as a result of this conflict, gas has already gone up $1 a gallon, and it is expected to go up even further because all of the products that are impacted by petroleum. There is nothing that petroleum and the products that come out of that part of the world do not impact the questions of affordability. And this is what I believe, Dr. Eury, Martin Luther King Jr. is talking about when he talks about our destiny being interconnected, that inescapable mutuality, this language that Dr. King used to share with us, that what impacts one person directly impacts someone else indirectly and conversely. Dr. Eury, is it possible in the United States to talk about issues of affordability, the Democratic Party talking points, and escape a conversation about what's taking place in the Strait of Hormuz?
Well, not with any sort of rationality, right? To say that we've been requested and required to operate with a sense of political dissonance would be an understatement. That somehow or other thinking that initiating a conflict without justification would be net neutral on the effects to the rest of us is not only short-sighted, It's really probably the biggest form of just being untruthful with the American people and with the world. And I think that's one of the reasons why you see such reluctance on the part of our international partners to get involved and engaged in this just unwise conflict. At the same time, I think you hear the true point spoken out loud. The question of affordability, I think this came from one of the president's economic advisors, is the farthest thing from their mind. And so what affects the masses is really not a concern to this administration, which is why we see just this kind of blindfolded approach to just ignoring everything else that's important for the sole purpose of this president trying to prove that he is the strong man in the room. And he may be the strong man, he's certainly not the wise man. And in the short term and in the long term, it's going to cost the country, I think, more than the country is willing to pay.
I am. I think that somehow we think that the price of eggs are going to go down and not recognize that eggs usually come in a carton. It's either a styrofoam carton, which is a petroleum-based product, or it's in a cardboard box kind of carton. That's eggs. The wax on the front side or the plastic that your milk comes in comes from petroleum-based products. That little cellophane that's over your sausage and over your bacon comes from petroleum-based products. And Dr. Seitz, Dr. Yeri, in the first hour of our program, shared with us that a very important chemical that is necessary for fertilizer so that they can grow corn in Indiana and we can grow corn and soybean in downstate Illinois, and grapes in California can reach their ripeness to make a bottle of wine, are all including the wheels on the car that you're driving, are all impacted by petroleum-based products that pass through the Strait of Hormuz. This is the affordability question. Should we be there, or should we be able to afford a gallon of milk and a gallon of gas? Those are the revolutionary values that we have to take into account. Am I wrong, Dr. Yeri?
No, you're not wrong. And if you've had to get gas more than once in the last week, you've seen it actually change in real time, right? The practical application of this is where are folks met with the consequences of this war. For most people, it's going to be in the cost of transportation. Gas is, I've heard friends say that the cost for them to fill up their tank has gone up 25% in under 2 weeks. If you just add that to the cost of getting goods from field to market, you're
I'm thinking that we have a small technical difficulty with Dr. Yeri, but I do want to say that when he says that this question of transportation is a factor in the cost of our quality of lives, that's inescapable. That the gas has gone up, the rubber on our tires have gone up. If you think you've got leather seats in your car, chances are they are pleather seats, so the price of your car is going to go up. It means that every person who hustles in Uber is going to have to raise the price of your transportation every time you call an Uber, because they pass it on through their gas, they pass it on through their service. It's right at the heart of the affordability crisis, the price of gas. I'm sorry, Dr. Yeri, I lost you for just a second.
No, I will be stationary here shortly and glad about it. Look, because one, as I'm moving from place to place, it is not the preferred way of doing business. If it costs every time I go out to start my car, every time I move the car, that changes the calculus of what becomes critically important to me. And so the residual effects will be not only to the essentials, that we pay for, but also the essentials that maintain a healthy quality of life. When people have to choose between healthcare and medicine versus food, when you've got young people and you're trying to figure out, do we have enough money to make sure that they have the necessary supports to be able to thrive academically and socially, to put the masses of people in a position where they have to make unnecessarily difficult choices because of the recklessness of the administration is not a cost that we're able to recoup. Those harms just continue to reverberate, and the administration acts like no harm, no foul. That's the offense in all of this. And that's what Dr. King was calling our attention to even a generation plus ago.
Dr. Uri, is there a ways in which this is going to manifest itself in the midterms could very well impact what is perceived as soft messaging from the Democratic Party, given where the money is coming from to run and pick some of these candidates in the primary process. They're speaking with a forked tongue when they talk about affordability and not talking about what's also taking place with this preemptive war and the strikes by the president and the administration.
Yeah, I mean, the politics of the moment often require that someone not in the political space force the political discourse. Politicians do what politicians do. And because many times you have political interests, corporate interests, lobby interests playing both sides, it makes it difficult to get a candid conversation. But the credible voices, the voices of regular folks, if they can be heard in a way that allows folks not to be able to ignore, forget the elephant in the room. You don't even need a whole elephant. Just get the trunk in the room. I think we begin to force a different kind of discourse around who is actually competent and qualified to represent our interest inside this structure that we call government. And so we can't leave it to the political parties to do the talking. We have to do what we often saw your father do, right? Somebody's got to set the discourse and do the convening and then frame the dialogue instead of having the dialogue framed for us.
I know that the National Urban League is having its annual policy conference in Washington, D.C. At this hour. Do you believe that our organizations are going to be discussing the Strait of Hormuz at these policy conferences? In 2 weeks, I believe we're at the National Action Network Conference in New York together. Are these issues going to be on the table at our Black organizations for the summer?
I believe they will. The issue becomes, how do we keep the information in the forefront of the conversation? To talk about it in the spring, but not really be able to act on it until Election Day in the fall becomes our big difficulty. And so whatever is the most pressing issue 6 months from now will be the thing that's commanding the attention. And so it's good to start the conversation in the spring, in March, in April, but we've got to sustain the conversation all the way to November. Otherwise, we find apathy kicking in or amnesia kicking in, as if the issue's been resolved and we've stopped talking about it. We've got to keep the discourse going, and we've got to keep the fire lit. Otherwise, the parties that are doing this to us will still be in power the day after Election Day in November, and that's going to be the tragedy of it all.
Dr. Uri, one final question before we come forward. What does the travel season look like now that the weather is beginning to break and beginning to change? What does that mean for staying at hotels? What does that mean for the cost of an airplane ticket? What does that, and the price rising cost of aviation fuel? What does that mean for those of us whose paychecks are not being increased during this time of absolute fiscal uncertainty and the affordability crisis? What does this mean as we move into the summer months and its broader impact on the traveling economy?
Well, travel and tourism, right? If it's too costly for many people to buy a ticket, they won't buy a ticket, which means they won't take trips, which means parts of the country that rely upon tourism as a basis to support the local economy. You're going to see disruptions there, folks losing their jobs as a result. The reverberations that flow from this kind of recklessness, it takes a while for the effects to catch up, right? We're feeling the pain in terms of the awareness of the war, but the effects of this war will last long after they finally decide to stop firing bullets and dropping bombs.
And that includes packages delivered by Amazon, UPS, Federal Express. All of these things are going up, I'm assuming. It means that the Postal Service is probably going to raise the price of stamps because of the delivery cost of delivering a single letter to a home first class. Am I wrong about that?
Well, either.
I think I lost Dr. Yuri again with an intermittent break. So I don't think I'm wrong about it. I think that these costs are going to show up to us, and they're not going to show up to us in the ways that we think they're going to show up to us. They're going to show up to us at every level of our nation's economy. Such is the nature of petroleum and the Strait of Hormuz. One could make this a similar argument about the Panama Canal. However, the Panama Canal is not in jeopardy at this hour. But products from China and other products that the Iranians trade with, it means that Christmas and all of these plastic toys that we buy for our children in the name of Santa Claus, all of that stuff is going up because some 80% of the products are made from plastics. They are made from products that come from petroleum and chemicals that are maintained and created in that part of the world who need access to the Strait of Hormuz. And so I don't know a way around the affordability crisis without discussing this crisis in the Middle East, this unnecessary crisis in the Middle East. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. More with Dr. S. Todd Yuri and the politics of our faith when we come forward right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Illinois Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton won the Democratic primary for U.S. Senate, defeating a crowded field.
A voice like mine, a voice like ours, are desperately needed.
The Chicago native is aiming to replace retiring Senator Dick Durbin and could make history as one of 3 Black women serving in the Senate at the same time. Washington, D.C.'s Black Mayor Muriel Bowser is urging Congress to reject a resolution that would shut down the city's traffic cameras. She says the cameras help prevent reckless driving and removing them would hurt public safety. And officials at Hartsfield-Jackson Airport say TSA callouts have surged to 36% as agents work without pay during the shutdown, causing long security lines. Travelers are urged to arrive at least 3 hours early as Black House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries pushes for a vote to end the shutdown. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Now is the time to save on an award-winning Nissan at the Nissan Now sales event, featuring the Rogue, Pathfinder, Frontier, and more. Don't wait. These offers are going fast. Shop your Southern California Nissan dealers and NissanUSA.com today.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Congratulations to HBCU Howard University. The men's basketball team won the first NCAA tournament game in school history. Howard defeated Maryland-Baltimore County 86-83 Tuesday night in the play-in round in Dayton, Ohio. Howard, champions of the MEAC Conference, was 0-4 in the NCAA tournament before Tuesday night. Bryce Harris, a senior guard from Brentwood, New York, led Howard with 19 points and 14 rebounds. Howard advances to a first-round matchup Thursday in Buffalo against Michigan, the number 1 seed in the Midwest Regional. 4 p.m. tip-off local time, live coverage on CBS. Prairie View A&M, champions of the SWAC Conference, has their play-in game today against Lehigh. 3:30 p.m. tip-off for this one. Live coverage on True TV. The Lakers are at Houston tonight. The Lakers are going for their 7th straight win. The Clippers are at New Orleans tonight. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about. I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Heading out of town this spring? Metro makes getting to LAX easier than ever. Just take the C or K train lines to the new LAX Metro Transit Center. Then catch a free shuttle straight to your terminal. Easy, affordable, stress-free. Travel smart. Go Metro. Hey LA, spring into savings with a special offer from LADWP. Now through March 31st, get a Flume device for free. What's a Flume? It's an easy-to-install home water monitor and leak detector that helps you catch leaks early and track water use. Don't wait. Order your free Flume before March 31st at ladwp.com/FLUME. That's ladwp.com/FLUME.
Hi, I'm Dominique DePrima, KBLA Talk 1580 host and African Focus Incorporated cultural ambassador. You probably know by now that every year our two organizations team up to lead a trip to the motherland. This June will be our 8th African Focus Trailblazers Tour, and it's not too late to join us. But if you've been thinking of going with us, now is the time to sign on before prices go up. Our current deadline is March 20th. Join us as we travel to a country widely considered one of Africa's most underrated destinations, Zambia, home to the towering Victoria Falls and the bustling capital city, Lusaka. Enjoy a visit to Botswana, known for its pristine natural beauty and stunning Southern African wildlife. We travel in comfort with luxury accommodations, a variety of fun activities, and delicious dining. We do service with charitable work at a school and an orphanage, and we expand our horizons with cultural and historical excursions. To sign up now before our March 20th deadline, please call African Focus Incorporated at 310-676-7300. That's 310-676-7300. Or check out africanfocus.org. Whether it's in the community or traveling the globe, we move as family. African Focus and KBLA Talk 1580. Let's go.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. More specifically, the politics of our faith with the Reverend Dr. S. Todd Yeary, Esquire. Dr. Yeary's social justice work includes the fact that he's a civil rights attorney and a public policy advocate. Dr. Yeary holds a deep belief that honest dialogue creates opportunities to form strategic partnerships that strengthen families and communities. Dr. Yeary, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, and more specifically to your show, The Politics of Our Faith.
And no, it's you call it my show. It's a good time to have an important conversation about where things are in the world. And I'm honored to be able to have this conversation with you as often as we are able to do so.
Dr. Uri, can I pivot to mass TSA absences mean flying is a crapshoot right now, a headline in the Business Insiders. And I say I want to make the pivot to the partial government shutdown and the fact that 10% of TSA workers are slowing down aviation travel in the United States at a time when we are engaging in a war with the nation that is responsible largely for unconventional warfare, targeting planes and targeting known as a terror organization capable of unleashing terror cells all over the world. And it is clear to me that Europe, by the way, is saying, listen, they are signaling to the Iranians, we are not in this. We are not participating in this. Don't bring that nonsense over here, which some of us remember from the late 70s, the mid to late 70s, and some of the early 80s, of course, until Ronald Reagan became president of the United States. But the idea of the TSA is a post-9/11 phenomenon, and it was designed for men and women comfortably situated to look carefully at every single item that enters an aircraft. I am worried at this hour about the safety and security of the American people and the nation's aviation system in light of the fact that we are at war with Iran, even though it is undeclared. Is that something to be concerned about, Dr. Uri?
Well, staffing is always a concern. If we go back to the establishment of the Department of Homeland Security, which was the administrative response to what occurred on 9/11, the Transportation Safety Administration, TSA, is situated under Homeland Security, not under transportation. Air Traffic Control, on the other hand, the Federal Aviation Administration, is not under Homeland Security. It is under the Department of Transportation. Railway under DOT. And so we have this kind of disconnect in terms of how government is structured, such that when we find ourselves in these situations, we don't really have a response to how to keep folks on the job because they aren't getting paid. We can find money for war. We can't find money for workers. That's the problem. That is the moral predicament where we find ourselves right now. And it's one for which this administration is not concerned enough to even raise an answer to the question. They could go back for an emergency appropriation specifically for TSA and get that through right now. It would not have anything to do with disrupting Homeland Security as it relates to immigration and custom enforcement. That's what we call ICE. That's where a lot of this fight is in terms of the appropriation for Homeland Security. So they could work through all of that. But now let's talk about the safety issue. The reason there are long lines in airports is because to screen carry-on bags, to screen bags in the cargo hold takes time. It is not automatic. And there are ways that we've seen over the years that folks try to secret certain items that you don't want on airplanes, ranging from firearms to explosives. And so, there is a legitimate concern. The way you offset it is you slow down the system so that the resources and the assets that you have are able to take the time necessary to make sure that these flights are safe. And it's not just passenger flights. Imagine cargo. Imagine the shipping of essential goods necessary to keep the economy flowing, for local governments to be able to address key assets and responsibilities. And do you shift the shipment of goods and the movement of passengers to, say, rail? That's much slower. It takes much more time, and you have fewer seats and fewer cars, if you will, available to move these goods. And so the ripple effect that we see from this war are just beyond our ability to kind of understand. And we already had Homeland Security as an issue even before the war started.
Dr. Uri, shouldn't the President of the United States use the Oval Office at this hour to give the nation an address on the nature of the conflict, the mission of the conflict, what the mission is of the conflict, how long it's going to last, and to come up with every possible response from the federal government to secure vital infrastructure, given the adversary in this moment?
Under normal circumstances, that would be exactly what we would expect and probably exactly what we would see. But this is an abnormal presidency version 2.0. And so if we can't get a clear answer from the podium in the briefing room or from the gaggle as he's going to Marine One, putting him behind the desk of the Oval Office with all of its interesting decorations around it, would only be, would only give him a formal prop to say some of the ongoing nonsense. And the real issue is not that the president won't do it. It's that the Republican leadership in the House and the Senate won't push him on it. And that's the scariest part for me, is that he's got enablers. He knows that he doesn't have to say anything because there's no one on Capitol Hill that's going to force his hand. And as long as you have the tail wagging the dog, we're going to continue to get what we're getting.
That brings me to the midterms, because the only chance that we have of holding this president accountable is to regain control of the Congress. And we're still essentially a year away from any kind of accountability. But by that, I mean, we're in the primary process, the midterms, and then there's the general election in November, and then a new Congress sworn in January of 2027, prayerfully with Hakeem Jeffries being elected by the caucus as the Speaker of the House. There's a lot of damage that can be done between now and the swearing in of a new Congress, Dr. Yeary.
There's a lot of damage being done. And I think part of that is by design. The design, I really believe, is to keep up enough chaos so that the rationale will be things are too turbulent right now for us to risk a transition in terms of leadership. And so since we're already in these very volatile waters, let's just kind of leave the leadership posture as it is, and then we can come back and revisit it. That's why we're looking at how elections are being done. Where are the ballots? What's the interference coming from the federal government? Why is there a search warrant being executed in Fulton County, Georgia, when the Republican Secretary of State says there was no voter fraud to the degree that anyone would need to investigate, and even the instances that they found came from other people? That's the issue. And so without accountability, the president's not going to do it in the Oval Office, on the airplane, on the helicopter, behind the podium.
It's Wealthy Wednesdays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It doesn't get any wealthier than a conversation with Dr. S. Todd Yeary, the politics of our faith, every Wednesday right here on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580 with Dr. S. Todd Yeary.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Why'd I go to the doctor? Working on the farm, my heart kept skipping a beat. I didn't think much of it, but my daughters made me get checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com. Sponsored by Bristol Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
I know that hiring can be challenging. You need someone to match your role perfectly. Well, now you can meet them fast on ZipRecruiter.
Build your team, build it sooner. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
Just head to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try it for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Meet your match on ZipRecruiter. Try it free.
Protect yourself from Medicare card scams. Scammers may call, email, or even knock on your door claiming they need your Medicare info, asking for money, or threatening to cancel your benefits. Don't fall for it. It's a scam. Remember, Medicare doesn't need to verify your information. They already have it. Medicare won't charge you for a new card and will never threaten to cancel benefits. Check your Medicare statements for suspicious charges and report scams to the California Senior Medicare Patrol at 1-855-613-7080. We're here to help.
Roger and Tracy saved over $18,400. Cynthia was recovering from a family tragedy and saved over $10,300. If you are drowning in debt, then call Debt Blue. Debt Blue is a professional debt negotiation firm with over 20 years of experience helping people pay back a fraction of what they owe. Learn how to cut your debt up to half or maybe more. Be debt-free in 24 to 48 months, even with bad credit. With an A+ rating from the BBB, you can rest easy knowing Debt Blue is going to deliver guaranteed debt reduction. Debt Blue offers a success guarantee. You pay nothing unless your debt is reduced or completely resolved. That's right. You save money or it's free. Call now for significant debt relief and a free consultation. 800-200-8879. That's 800-200-8879. You don't have to declare bankruptcy. This program works if you owe $10,000, $20,000, or even $100,000 in debt. Call for your free consultation today. 800-200-8879. That's 800-200-8879.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds. Learning new things comes with age.
My mom, she started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The BLM Center for Black Power is a hub for Black activism in the city of Los Angeles, a standalone nonprofit affiliated with Black Lives Matter LA. The venue is home to live events, meetings, and organizing drives for Black-led community-based organizations. It is also the base of operations for Black Lives Matter LA. Built on what used to be a nuisance property owned by an arms dealer, the BLM Center for Black Power is in the heart of Leimert Park and has opened its doors to everything from youth organizers to toy drives to film screenings and community town hall meetings. To make a donation or make a request, please visit blmla.org. That's blmla.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Small businesses are the heart of America. But you don't have to go it alone. As the nation's largest nonprofit resource of expert business mentoring, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses for free. Get the connections, education, and guidance you need with SCORE. We're ready to help. Find a mentor today at score.org.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show and the Politics of Our Faith with Reverend Dr. S. Todd Yeary. I am so proud and so grateful that every week I get the opportunity to engage Dr. Yeary's mind. Dr. Yeary, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Always good to be with you. Hanging out with you makes me smarter. I get to say I know you. So when I can say I know people, they give me access to places that I normally don't go.
You're just kind. Hey, Dr. Yeary, listen, I know we only have 9 minutes, and I do want to pivot to another conversation that I think is apropos in this moment. And that is, how do we speak? And I know this is a new conversation, 9 minutes, it's all yours. How do we speak to the blue and red divide? I had a really interesting conversation with Michael Eric Dyson this week. And in one of the segments, he was making a compelling case for how Reverend Jackson in 84 and 88 talked about a hog, about a pig and a chicken having a conversation over a ham and egg sandwich. And of course, the chicken gets to drop an egg and go on about its way. And the hog has to drop a leg in order to participate in the ham and egg conversation. And the hog says essentially that's unfair. That some of us are being asked, in a real sense, Dr. Ury, to sacrifice more than others are being to sacrifice. And I'm trying to figure out the compelling language that allows Democrats to speak to the blue with integrity in the primary process, but also reach out to the red in a language that they understand, that can bridge the great political and cultural and, if you will, the social divides in our country. We have about 8 minutes left. Dr. Ury, help us with bridging the gap and that language. What does it sound like?
Well, it sounds like what we have heard over the years now, multiple generations, certainly from the leadership of your father. If our grief is to have any value, we have to remember what he taught us and what he learned from his time sitting at the feet of and in the presence of Dr. King. That the conversation was not necessarily about party. It was about predicament. What is the condition of the people that needs to be addressed? And is there clarity around that? I'm still reminded of the convention speech where the two most poignant words that kept being repeated in your father's convention speech was, "I understand." That he gave a description of awareness and familiarity with the plight of the people. And what we find is that the parties, whether you're looking left or right, have lost the ability to indicate in any sort of credible way that they understand what people are feeling. Poverty is a condition. It is not a party affiliation. You have poor Republicans, you have poor Democrats. You have hungry Republicans, you have hungry Democrats. You have homeless Republicans, you have homeless Democrats. And so this isn't about who's towing the party line. It's who's speaking to the existential, that word we often use when we have these conversations in seminary classrooms. What's going on in the real world with the people? And one of the reasons we find ourselves in such a precarious political situation is it appears that whether it's Democrat or Republican, it's a difference of degrees, not necessarily substance, that this is really about the elites getting what they want to the exclusion of and at the expense of the masses of the rest of us. And so it is really a matter of who's talking about where folks are hurting. A doctor does not come into the examination room and hand you a prescription right off the bat. If they did, you would think they had lost their mind. The first thing they have to do is sit with you to hear what's going on with you, to then help diagnose what is ailing you so that they can figure out how to heal what is troubling you. We don't have that ability in our politics, not because it doesn't exist, but we don't have the will nor the courage to wrestle with it, because it forces us to have to look in the eyes of people that we say we're concerned about and move beyond what we've heard in recent days, that it is the furthest thing from our list of priorities to be concerned about affordability in a time where the only question on the table is affordability. That's where we find ourselves. And until we get back to truth speaking in our politics, but also in our private conversations, we're going to continue to be plagued with this just dire circumstance that everybody's pretending that the pain that we are feeling, the cries that we're hearing are just our imagination, and that everything is all right when ain't nothing all right in America.
Dr. Ury, when is the last time we heard a politician say, I understand. I understand. I guess it's kind of Bill Clinton, I feel your pain, but I think that's played out. I understand is an appeal to an empathy that reflects the leaders' experience themselves, that we are producing leaders who are not part of the I see you. I see you. I understand. Help us with our final 2 minutes.
Yeah, that's the profound question. It's become clickbait and soundbite, not substance. Because after your father said, I understand, he described what he understood. Right? He didn't just drop the word and then move on to some other cliche or rhetorical flourish. He actually described the thing because he had lived it. What we have now is a political class that is so detached from the real world struggles of the folks they claim to represent that they don't say, I understand. They say, I get it, whatever the it is, because to understand it is different than getting it. Getting it means holding it. Understanding it means having a grasp on it such that you personalize and internalize the need to help resolve it, because you do more than get it. You are moved to help resolve and fix it. That's what's missing in our politics, and that's why we continue to struggle.
That is the most compelling argument that I've heard for bridging the language divide, the communications divide between the red and the blue, the Democrats and the Republicans. And oftentimes, the Democrats tend to stay in the blue areas. They don't even venture into the red areas, the rural areas, because they are incapable in that space of saying, I understand.
If you take poor people from rural areas and poor people from urban areas and you put them in the same room and get folks from both parties and force them to listen to what the people are saying, they can't come away and pretend they haven't heard, and then they must be forced to understand.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You've been listening to The Politics of Our Faith with Reverend Dr. S. Todd Yeary. Dr. Yeary, thank you for being on the show this week.
I appreciate you, my brother, more than you know.
I appreciate you as well. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward, right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica,